spaceships.
Hey, weirdos. I'm Jason Ward from MakingStarWars.net. It's my sketchy friend, Rob.
What's up?
Yeah, everybody knows where he's at. If you don't know where he's at, look it up. How do you even look that up? I don't know. That's their problem,
right? Reverse image search.
Reverse image search. The thing you must do if you meet anybody on a dating app.
If someone's wearing a Blue Lives Matter hat and you want to check to see if it...
so there was like a thing where I was critical of Lou Elizondo in the UFO community for talking about not politicizing the UFO phenomenon, but then wearing a Blue Lives Matter hat on every stream that he does. And I'm like, hey, you could think stupid shit if you want to, but you're kind of, that's not healthy for what we need to get on with. Anyways, I meant to put that in the stream today. I totally forgot about Indiana Jones. How did I forget about Indiana Jones? I love him. But there's this picture of Harrison Ford on a golf cart being driven around Italy. And I think it's Frank Marshall behind him. And I'm like, does he have a Blue Lives Matter hat on? And I started to have this delightful glee on the inside. If it was, I don't think he did. He was just wearing an American flag hat in Italy, which is kind of a little cringy on one hand. But I was imagining the fandom menace trying to reconcile Kathleen Kennedy and probably Frank Marshall. I mean, chances are if they're married, they might not agree, but they probably do. And wouldn't that be funny? Just watching that try to come to a terms.
It would. It's backwards, which is generally what the military wears because they have this whole thing about like stars forward or some shit. Okay. They tell us, and I forget. So, right. So it's possible he has like a nephew or a niece in the military, and that was the hat, right? He's just trying to be patriotic, kind of thing, right?
Yeah, I'm not even convinced it was that hat, by the way.
In a reverse image search, though, the only hat that comes up like it doesn't have the reverse flag, but it's the same hat with the stripes forward, and it comes from this Christian like military store or something.
Okay,
and I'm like, oh, that's even weirder.
And that might not be Frank Marshall. That might be Ford's security. It might be somebody who has somebody's like, you know what? I trust Ford's life with you because you got Frank Marshall eyes. And he got the job.
We really could in the age of Photoshop just like take a photo of Frank Marshall and put it over him, like when they try to draw Joker's lips, like Jack Napier, right? Or the glasses on Clark Kent. Like there's every DC movie loves to do that, right?
Yeah, but I think I might have some. If I have that stuff on my phone, we'll get it. We'll hit it on the show today in a quick way at least. But we also have a bunch of Star Wars news.
Frank Marshall, you idiot! That's the Grip Boy. I'm like, well, he's 70 years old. Like the Grip Boy is like the oldest Grip Boy known to man.
Well, not everybody gets a promotion, Rob.
I do know.
All right, okay. I do, well, my friend. I do have the picture on the old telephone. That's the good thing about DMing Rob is that I tend to have the stuff on my phone when I can't get prepared. But I have an excuse for not being prepared today, and that was that I finished the prelude to War of the Bounty Hunters, so we could just knock that out. And because I was down at the Mando set, it's a good excuse. So I was down at the Mando set, and I got something new that we will hit first. And let me share what I got. So up front, where's it going to put us? On the sides, which is probably appropriate for this one. By the way, something was going on. I cleaned the lens on my phone. Whenever I would zoom, it would get all foggy. It's sort of strange. But
foggy I had to from tartar sauce.
Tartar. I just have I'm like, oh, fish and chips and Star Wars, and I'm just like, got it all over.
Fish fillets on the breakfast menu at McDonald's. You can order anytime you want. Anytime you want.
So,
all right.
oh, believe me, friend, I know. Unfortunately, this fat fuck knows. Basically,
that's the only bumper sticker I'd be willing to put on my car.
This fat fuck knows. Star Wars. This fat fuck knows. that's the new Making Star Wars catchphrase. This fat fuck knows. Anyways, so up here, I wanted to show this hasn't changed much from the last time that I showed you guys what was going on. They were planting these like trees, And I was like, wow, at first we thought this planet was going to be Navarro. And if you ask my opinion, they're reusing Navarro stuff to make some of the set, to be honest with you. But when they put that paint on, that's when it's a whole new place. Movie magic, Hollywood, right? And so what do we got? What do we got next? Well, this was the interesting part to me. Let me go over my tab and change it over. It was this. I caught this going down, and that right there that's just weird to me. I mean, in a weird, strange way, it's not, but it reminds me of my old Death Star playset from A New Hope, the one with the green Dianaga monster. It looks like almost like the tractor beam thing that Kenobi turns off in A New Hope. Now, obviously, I'm not saying it's that, but it does look like it's going to have many sides to it. They're using a crane to move these pieces around. And Meg, Star Wars Scooper Meg, hey, look, it's putting the comments in the middle now. This thing is wild. Meg says it's a space toilet, and I think she's right. You know,
it's not about toilets, Meg. You know,
and Johnny Mathers just became my best friend of all time, and you are just in time, Dell. And what's up, Mr. Hamilton? And Santa says, "Ooh, new pictures." So yeah, what does it mean? I don't know, but I was kind of like on this one right here. I was like, you know what? Let's kind of crowdsource this one, so to speak, with our friends in the chat and stuff. And I mean, I know it's fun to come up with like funny guesses, like a space toilet, because it probably is, based off of the first episode of Mandalorian when we literally see a space toilet for the first time.
It's definitely where the Rancors take a poop, because it's big for Rancors. You know, they can just kind of fit their little. They got little butts though. They're not that big.
Yeah, that is the interesting thing is the Rancors have little anuses. People don't know that. Pablo Hidalgo's writing a book, and you'll learn all about it next year. But anyways,
I like to write about the butts.
Yeah, but you know, like every now and then, like I'll put something out, and I'll have no idea what it could be or what it was, and I'm just not making the connection. And then somebody else knows, like, oh, I think I know what that is. And I mean, do you think? I guess the question is that railing in the front, or is that just lines on the wall? I know. I honestly could see better with the camera than with my own eyes in the environment today, for the record. So yeah, not as keen with the old eyeballs as I used to be, and is pretty far distance. A little bit hazy today. And but I was like, what? You know, is that white because it's not painted yet? Is it on primed stuff? But doesn't it look like there's another part behind it, and like it's gonna almost make like a sort of a cylinder, so to speak?
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of an AT-AT foot without being an AT-AT foot, right? Like just in that symbol, like that cylindrical, you know, kind of like. I'm not saying that's an AT-AT foot. I'm not saying that at all.
Yeah,
it kind of has that same kind of imperial-ish kind of cylindrical.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. And it's like white. It's very white, and like I said, it might not be painted. Sometimes though, whenever they put primer on before something needs to be painted, you know, if you ever painted houses, you know, like when you do the primer, it's just about putting the coat on, so that way the right colors pop, and the color that you intended to be, that is. And when I'm looking at this one, I'm like, that kind of does look like it's just straight up white. And a part of me is kind of hoping so, because, you know, for me in a weird way, and I wouldn't be surprised if Favreau and Filoni think this too, and maybe some of the older dudes in the chat, older ladies in the chat, is that like there used to be white walls and stuff like that in Star Wars. And we kind of like, as Star Wars got more up designed, as they had more colors to work with, like things changed. Even like Echo Base used to be white until they really changed it over to that blue tint. They wanted to bring in that Macquarie feeling from the production paintings to Echo Base, and they kind of messed with the color timing on it. Honestly, a lot of people don't like it. I'm a little ambivalent about it, but I can't lie. Whenever I see like the original like white Echo Base that's been color corrected by fans, I'm like, oh, that hits a nostalgic nerve for me, because that's what it looked like, more or less.
And it's in
And
contrast to the diesel engine garage, look of half of the other film, whatever film it's in, right?
yeah,
Whether you're talking about the Tantive 4, or, you're talking about uh, Echo Base, and then parts of Bespin. I mean, Bespin has it the most, right? Where it's white and then it goes right into grills and orange and blue smoke. Like it's a cool contrast. I mean, there's actually that weird maroon gray look in that one room, right? When Luke's fighting Vader, it's kind of maroonish, which is
right.
totally right out of the 80s. You only see that in Star Trek 2
Hmm.
and like parts of Bespin, and then it goes away.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's true. I mean, and Dell's, as Dell's pointing out right now, Cloud City was all white walls, but George added windows. Yeah. And like there is something about like that original Bespin vibe that they could do for super cheap today, and we would probably like it. I do
Marsha
love
told George to add the windows. Marsha told him. It was
George,
me.
George is like, we're divorced now. I could change this however I want. I'm the boss now. But yeah, I had
Boss.
somebody in chat on Facebook who was like laying out every point we made about Marsha Lucas in the show, like trying to like set us straight. I was like, I didn't say anything, but I was like, maybe you should go watch the show next time. Instead of, it's, you know what I mean? I was like, I just presented something, but it goes to show how like fans take in so much stuff from outside. They hear so much outside noise that they just get like frustrated, and then they just start like regurgitating, at you.
Someone didn't watch the show and just
Someone,
started to preemptively remind us of everything they've ever heard about Marsha Lucas, and then
well,
never once.
yeah, and they even took it a step further. They were like, and the fact that she left their like daughter who they just adopted and left and all that kind of stuff. And I have to admit, I always did think that was a little potentially messed up, but at the same time, she was pretty small, and it might have been for the best since they clearly weren't going to want to see each other anymore. And
As a kid whose own mother abandoned him on Christmas Day. Welcome, 1987. Let me remind folks that if a parent doesn't want to be there, the kid's better off with them long term, not having the parent around, than having a parent around who wants to murder you. Like I won't lie, it got scary for 6 months in 1987-ish when I wondered if my mom was gonna. She kept talking about ladies who drove their kids into the lakes. She kept bringing these stories up, and I won't lie, I wondered every time we got in the car if she was going to drive us into the ocean or something. Like,
right.
It was a scary time of my life. So I'm like, I'm not saying Marsha Lucas did that, but if she didn't want to be a parent, then she's better off not being around.
Yeah. So. Yeah. I mean, and it's also, when you throw it out, I mean, once again, I don't know what the dynamic was between her and the child, so it's just impossible to really truly judge straight out what that is and what it could be. And it would not be the first time someone tried to have a child to save a failing marriage. Yeah. And boy, it's probably even stranger when it's an adoption, because they didn't go through the process of the biological connection, of the hormone changes and stuff like that one of the partners at least goes through. And so it's got to be it's an interesting thing. I don't know, but by all accounts, George Lucas was a wonderful father, and I think those kids grew up to be just fine. So I don't really have a value judgment to make on it, but I can't see the perspective. I can.
Why do we even have to defend any of this? We have nothing to do with the Lucases. No, I'm just saying, when someone goes, you don't understand, no, like, I don't care.
Yeah.
Like, seriously, like, whether we have a discussion about Marsha Lucas or not doesn't matter to me. Like, what does it change? If Marsha Lucas is having a discussion about Jason Ward's and the Sketchcrafts right now, how does the universe? When I get up to go get a coffee, like, what changes? Nothing. She literally wrote in a book, Kathleen Kennedy and J.J. Abrams call me. That's weird for someone of her stature to be doing at this point in her life. Like, it is weird. I don't care. Even if you worked on the films,
yeah,
as you know, in Hollywood, that is a weird move, right? It's strange, and I like Rinsler because I'd put it in the book if she wrote it. Like,
Rest in peace.
but but I mean, it's not at the same level as Sean Young going on a show in Catwoman garb and saying like, hire me for Catwoman. But it's
I'm
there.
But by the same measure, I didn't appreciate George's response. Honestly, I thought it was. Did you guys see what George said?
All I hear all day long at school is how great Marcia is at this, or how wonderful Marcia did that. Marcia.
Get over it, George. Get over it.
Everyone in the food court has heard it, George. Like,
yeah, everybody at the Chinese buffet is tired of hearing about it, honestly. And they're giving you the old
Mando
news
buffet,
now.
Actually, you know.
Yeah, they're giving you the old stuff, man. But it's a little Beavis. But it's a little.
We haven't ever seen him throw it before, but God, I probably wouldn't be able to stop laughing. Like,
yeah, that is always think too when two people break up. That person has to deal with that person being maybe a bad lover. And they sound like
Marsha Lucas.
All I know is my boner's going inside. Right, I get it. I get where Marsha might have been coming from at times. But invented Wookiees, just the guy who might be like the guy for you at the time.
About it. You wouldn't shut up, movie. I told him if you do it, it'll be the dumbest line ever.
She's like, what if all of Pad 4 Eartha Kitt, and that explains all of it. The fact
Eartha Kitt did not end up in Star Wars breaks my fucking. You do not know. Like when I saw, I'm not even lying. When I first saw the designs for the Sith Witch in the Episode 1 Phantom Menace book, know, like because they were like she had just done she's like on point. She has lots. I just the most underused in the last 15 Tarantino film, and like because she was
still around.
No, she passed.
I mean,
it's a bummer.
So maybe we could put her. We could just dig her up during
a Lego Batman
discussion. I kind of think that these sets are likely connected, and when I was out there, I was pretty sure I saw them testing to do a sequence that in blue screen and probably with a Steadicam, something the equivalent of a Steadicam. And you know what I mean when I say Steadicam, like the handheld camera kind of thing.
Yeah. That's a jacket shot.
Yeah,
where they're right behind him.
So it might be like an exciting chase, for instance, and they just keep filming it from different angles, a lot of the same set pieces, like in a little picture that I set up right there. Not that it's the easiest thing to tell, but this thing right here over on the streets, it kind of weaves in and out, like it goes around. It's like a little tiny maze with like lots of turns and stuff like that.
It'd be a great nod to Full Metal Jacket to have that, because that sequence of Full Metal Jacket when they get to Vietnam and they're being attacked, when he's with the tank and they're being hit by the snipers and stuff. Every modern video game has taken that sequence right there. If you just plug in third person combat camera, Gears of War, anything with a third person combat, it all comes from that sequence. Like every modern warfare game.
Yeah, no, and I was gonna throw out there really quickly when I was looking at that stuff. Okay, stretch. We're speculating. We're asking what? We're asking questions. We're not giving answers. What if this is Luke Skywalker's place? Because you have these like beautiful trees out there, and you have like we're making this look more like an idyllic Alderaanian kind of place. I mean, Alderaa's blown up, but we're, you know what I mean? Like this looks like a much nicer place than what we've seen Mando go to in the past.
This isn't it, but it just dawned on me. What do we know where Luke set up his new temple? Did they ever say where it was?
I don't think they did.
Wouldn't it have been great if he had built the temple on Naboo?
Because like the one thing I could tell you is during the sequel trilogy filming for The Force Awakens, they had made Lor Santeca's little set, where all his people get burned up and killed. And they had put the X-Wing out there. Remember JJ took the picture in front of the X-Wing, or did the Omaze, here's an X-Wing, guys, give money to charity thing. It was nice of him. It was good. And they filmed right to the left of it. They filmed the Knights of Ren sand and dirt. And so for a very long time, I was of the belief that this was definitely going to it was going to be Jakku. But that did not stay to be the case, because when they went to film episode 8, they actually made the exterior a big set for the exterior of the temple, and it wasn't really actually used in any like serious way in the film. It's in there, but I don't know. I don't think they needed to build it.
But didn't you say they were making Naboo fighters for the Mando?
Yeah, I did say
what
that.
What if Naboo was where Luke built the temple?
Yeah, but well, based on, if we were to take the evidence here, well, man, I'm trying to remember, because I feel like they may have said where it was, but I'm gonna say no. You know what? I'm gonna say if they did, I would just hear about it every fucking day. Like, is that Raxus 9 every time? You know, and I understand, I totally get it, but I think I would be hearing it all the time.
All right. And I was trying to be like, fan logic, blown up.
You know, because they it was really super confusing, because they built the Jedi tree, the one where they like burned up. They built that, and then right above it, at the lot in Pinewood, was the Jedi set up above it, and then there was like the Canto Bight exterior stuff, and so I'm guessing that in the end they just used the Canto Bight stuff probably. But anyways, so yeah, I'm probably confused. I need to look back on all that stuff. It's been a while since I like delved into.
Unless this is Naboo, and that's an Imperial thing that's landing. Mike Zero, get on it. Like,
yeah.
Then Jason won't do it.
Yeah, I guess Mike Zero's been on fire. I keep hearing Mike Zero's name this week in chat. I'm like, Mike Zero must be doing stuff. But yeah, I dig it though. I mean, I like that we're seeing something new. I can't remember if I did I share those indie photos. I'll throw them up really quickly before I forget if I didn't. Yeah, okay, there it is.
Yeah, we did a whole episode last week on it, right?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
there it is.
See,
there's the hat.
See, like right here, we were like, oops. Oh, come on. All right, there it is.
There we go.
So yeah, I was like, I thought that might be Marshall, but I thought it was pretty funny though. But yeah, Ford's looking good though. Oh yeah, you know what? I wanted to read. There was a pretty good little spoiler thing. I sent it to you.
Hold on. What if Frank Marshall's next directorial movie, since arachnophobia, is Antiphobia?
Antiphobia.
yeah.
Antiphobia.
Antiphobia.
That's funny. Okay. So there was this Italian, I think it's Italian, Palermo Repubblica.it, so Italian, article about the Indiana Jones filming. Now, so there's been some like interesting things going on with Indy, by the way. Like, for instance, there is like stuff about it involving time travel, about the first computer that was, it was like a Greek computer or Roman computer. I can't remember. It's like a mythical computer that's like been lost to a time.
Picia, whatever that thing is.
Yeah, where is that from?
It's from like Homer, or that as well as lost things on a ship.
Yeah, so somebody was showing like a painting of it with a boat, and they made this giant boat out there. But somebody pointed out in the chat for it that was possibly debunking it, was that it like the boat wasn't the right. It was like either it wasn't a Viking boat, needed to be, or the other. I can't remember how it went, but I meant to look into it and didn't really get to. But the article, this is the article translated, so it's kind of a mindfuck. Mads Mikkelsen, the Danish actor, plays the role of a scientist inventor of a machine in time that will force Indiana Jones on a daring journey into the past.
Yeah, and he's a Jack Reacher fan. But this is from an Italian. I'm just curious. So this is from Italian like fan site, or like an Italian like actual news?
No, this is like a local Italian news source.
Okay.
And yeah, and a lot of so it goes two ways with these kinds of publications. Either completely full of assumption, somebody who just wanted to get a story out and go to lunch, or they actually talked to somebody and actually got straight up like real news. Like you would be surprised how that goes, but it's almost always one or the other, unfortunately. And in an ancient past is set the set of Manice, Manasseh, I don't know, with craft shops and workshop full of invention. So I'm thinking it's saying in the lower parts of where they're filming in the castle. Perhaps the Syracusan Archimedes, which is how you say that? Syracusan Archimedes?
Sure.
Which was set up in the basement of the castle. Another scene was animated by the horse arrived in the outer part of the castle through a passage guided by ad hoc and guided by expert trainer. So there was a horse with a trainer from England who had the task of organizing the scene with the animals in detail. Again, a part of the set was a glimpse of the sea overlooking the castle, where a sort of battle took place, as revealed by barrels and fumes seen in the distance. And then there's a quote. Everything according to what was agreed, comments the superintendent of Syracuse, Salvatore Martinez, without any problem for the monument. This is a mindfuck of a translation. Basically, they didn't fuck anything up. That's what he's saying.
Would Google Translate do this? Like,
and then it's saying like, yeah, it's a great place for Indiana Jones. And it goes on to say the production was asked to be able to extend the shooting by one day, and therefore still tomorrow morning the crew will be working to complete some scenes, then stop in Cefalu. I don't know. Cephalo. It ends with a U for what it has. It has an accent at the end. Yeah, right. Where Harrison Ford would have already arrived, and Antonio Banderas is expected there today. So yeah. So once again, don't know if this time machine stuff that keeps going around is just the assumption, or if there's like something to it. If it is, I don't know. Man, I don't know if I like the idea of it being a time machine. If it is, I'm not sure. I'm not sure what to think.
I'm fine with it. He's already, come on, man. Like, so I rewatched the Indiana Jones. It was my birthday this weekend, right? So I rewatched the Indiana Jones trilogy. Thank you. Rob 43, Death Zero.
All right.
So, the wife hasn't seen some of these films in quite a while, so we watched all three, and some interesting stuff. So we get to The Last Crusade, which she tells me is her favorite. She's like, "Oh, this is my favorite film."
Me too.
I'm like, all right.
Yeah, she's the best.
And then opens up great, but then she starts noticing all these crazy continuity errors, like when they're in the library, and Indiana Jones looks from the top of the rail down. There's a giant X, and then when he goes to crack the floor, no X. Like,
did you ever notice the books in that scene?
Yeah. She said there's a fake bookcase at the top too.
That's what I was talking about. Like that fake bookcase is more egregious than the continuity error to me.
She was like, what's with the fake bookcase?
Yeah,
like, I don't know. Pickup shots.
I've strangely I was in the past was hired direct copy for a Hollywood production, or not Hollywood, a Hollywood store, and who provides the books to Hollywood. And the woman who runs it's super fascinating, and they have a hard time getting some books for films at times. And she's the person who knows how to do this. So there's a good chance that they were like up there, wanted that thing, and could not, and needed it to be somewhat, and just fucking make a fake one. We'll try not to show it too much. You know what I mean? And for years we didn't notice. You might have noticed in the theater maybe, but indies also always had like that B grade quality to it in some ways on purpose. Like when they get to not Marcus Brody, what's his name? I said the name the other day and you didn't know, the guy who plays General Veers. Oh fuck, I know this.
Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, when they get to his apartment, it looks like I Love Lucy.
No, but that actually, it's funny is, so that was shot in 88, right?
Yeah,
it was released in 89. So there's a show called one second.
Yeah,
there's a show called Poirot, based off the adventures of Hercule Poirot. Agatha Christie's like Sherlock Holmes character, nothing like Sherlock Holmes really.
Yeah,
but that's her thing. And they started filming a TV show production, the BBC, around 88, 80, around the same time. And it's set in the same time period. Matter of fact, when they go to that Nazi airport, that exact location is used in Poirot all the time. So it's funny. So I'm looking at that guy's apartment. I'm like, this is the same props. Like, these are the same, because there's British crews, got to be the same stuff as in here. That's in half the Poirot episodes from the first season.
Probably.
And I'm like, they just exist in the same world, man. The Poirot and Indiana Jones. Like, that would, if this shit all went to public domain, that'd be the first book I'd write. Just this fussy Belgian stuck with gruffy Indiana Jones would be amazing. But yeah, so like, but that brass and glass look, sad to say, a lot of that Art Deco stuff really was sort of
Walter Donovan.
That was, yeah. So Donovan. That's why I would say Deacon, something like, but Donovan. That this was in the age of manufactured furniture, so it wasn't well crafted.
Yeah,
you know, this is like the first IKEA stuff, right?
Well, I mean, also like after the 80s, like props started getting taken like way more serious and like in a big way. Right. Like we started picking, and like because before that you didn't have like home video really. Home video didn't come out, like wasn't like really a thing until the 80s, and then you were getting like a compressed picture on top of that when you did see it. And when you saw it in the theater, you'd see it for like a second. So like they were able to get away with so much more. Like I was saying, like when you watch They Live, they're using the Ghostbusters PK meters, like in They Live. Yeah, as if
there's
it's
also
like
that device with the three. There's like there's this device that has like these red blinking lights. It's like 3-prong blinking lights. It's in Star Trek. It's in The Last Starfighter. It's in every science fiction film. Next Generation. It's in everything. Like, it's like the world's greatest device, you know, because it's like no one knows what the hell. It's in Airplane 2.
Okay.
When Shatner's like, what does this do? He's like, it make some blinking lights. I don't know. That's what this does. Yeah, but that was one of the big errors. I also noticed something else, which is pretty obvious, but it's funny. It's like Indiana Jones makes that, he gets on in that, they go down in the crypts, right? And he finds the tomb of one of the knights that, you know, live forever. And he gets this tracing paper and takes some pastel and waxes the other half of the shield. And then he immediately goes underwater.
Yeah.
None of his diary, none of his shit's wet.
It's fine. It's cool.
There's petroleum in the water too. It's on fire because the petroleum. He's looking around in the petroleum.
Harrison Ford observes most petroleum products. Ask anybody. It's a problem. It's a real problem.
Right.
But no, that's like one quality of Star Wars and Indiana Jones that literally is just being murdered by the nerds of today. Right. You know what I mean? Is the fact that it doesn't matter. It's like not the point. Like when Harrison Ford was telling the famous story with Mark Hamill, when he's like, Mark Hamill's like, my hair is supposed to be wet. It's out of the trash compactor. And he tells them, if people are paying attention to your hair, kid, we have a problem or something like that. And, and it's like, it's that same kind of thing. It's like, yeah, but this is more fun, you know, like this is, you don't, and it's like, but once again, guys who want Batman to be ninja and to spend 9 hours to get to the Batman movie, they're just like, they just can't accept that stuff today. But there's a lot of like cheapness in it too. Like where I'm like, is that acceptable? Where I do question, like when Sean Connery, there's scenes of him that look like straight out of Goonies, you know, in Goonies when the kids have the little medallion to like find where to go into the One-Eye Willie's base or whatever. Like they for whatever reason didn't shoot that on set, or they needed to like line up the visual effects right, so they do it on blue screen. And there's like a ton of just like blue screen work in that movie on backgrounds when they're outside, and it doesn't pass. It's not convincing at all. And I used to, when people used to get mad about the fake backgrounds in part 4, I was always like, yeah, those fake backgrounds have always kind of been a problem. We're just older and really having a problem with it now.
Or when they're in a plane, right? And it's with rear projection or however they're doing it, right? It's probably blue screen because the keying's really weird. Yeah. But there's no wind. Their hats are like not even, their hats aren't even like slightly waving in the wind. You know, it's the funniest thing in the world. Like
Connery was like, "Turn that shit off, or I'll punch you and I'll punch your ears," or something like that. And they're like, "We can't do it now." Yeah,
I also think from the first film, from Raiders, which I give the biggest pass on visual effects given the year it came out. Yeah. But just character-wise, the guy who flies the plane that has the snake, it's a shame that guy never came back. That Magnum PI looking guy who's fishing.
That's just my snake, Reggie. Yeah, Reggie. Yeah, I was surprised too. I don't know why. I was thinking about that. Like, that guy gets like almost no love at all, and like bit players usually kind of come into fandom's like lexicon or whatever. I got a feeling he just gets kind of asked out because one of the most iconic moments in film history happens 5 minutes later, and it makes him utterly forgettable. It's like he opened up for the Beatles of film, and nobody remembers your performance now because that ball moment in the opening of that film is just so good.
But getting to Temple of Doom, like, that was the one I told my wife, but this is the one. I'm not saying it's the best Indiana Jones film, but it's the one I used to watch that and Big Trouble in Little China back to back on tape because of pay-per-view.
Yeah,
that's how we recorded things.
Yeah,
but you get to Temple of Doom, and my wife was like, all the stuff with Short Round, the banter and the really works. Like when they're playing poker and they're cheating one another, she's like, but then she goes, where did the guides go? Like when Willie's running around with the snakes and the bears and shit. And I'm like, they're probably just sitting back laughing. Like, that would have been a great little key shot to show the guides just sitting back like, look at this. These fucking Americans not being able to live in the jungle for a day.
I think that is answered. It might be answered in the Marvel comic, but there's one of those things where they go, this is as far as we can take you. Because that
happens after that.
It does happen.
They get to Pankot Palace, and then they get to that statue with the severed limbs all over it, and they go, "No, we're getting out of here." So it's before that.
It's before
they're
that.
They're staying overnight. Yeah, because she gets dumped in the water, and then they stay overnight. But then the guides disappear while they're out there.
No, yeah, they go to the jungle jack-off party, and Indy couldn't go. Indy was like, Indy wanted to go, but he couldn't go.
Right. So I'm still impressed with the sets they built in that film.
Yeah.
And Temple of Doom, like even like the mining sets and stuff, like just the scale of those sets you don't see again. You don't see those in The Last Crusade. George is like, we're not building that.
Like, for me, like Temple of Doom, it's not even I don't even know if it's the sets themselves that I love. I think I love the lighting of the sets.
Yeah,
I guess maybe that's not fair. Maybe they go hand in hand. I should just see it that way. But had those sets been lit differently, it I think would have been terrible. But it was lit so right, and it was
like the way the sets were lit in the jungle scenes in Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, which is probably some of the cheapest. It's not that it's cheap; it's just horribly lit. Like it's cheap. It's just very clean looking. It's the problem. Yeah.
But
like all the candlelight and like the spot flares and the way they did like the background lighting. I also really think the shot where the bad dude falls along the surface wall at the end. And he falls. That is still an amazing shot. Like, I wish that was the Darth Maul shot we got. You know what I mean? Like, if we track down with him on the tunnel and he's like skipping and then he hits it and splits apart, right?
Yeah.
Like that.
Yeah. I was glad that they didn't fix that stuff, because it looking like it's a very bad good. Like they were striving for realism and they failed, but the shot was convincing and fun. And then now you're like, I love this shit. It's weird. I can't get this anywhere else right now. So
and Frank Marshall,
I love it. Mm-hmm.
Second unit director in all those films. Yeah. Him and Michael Moore, which my wife goes, is that the same? I'm like, it's not the same, Michael Moore. No, it's
not the same.
It's like 19.
Yeah. There was where did I see? I think it was that one dude, Adam Savage, the dude from Mythbusters.
Yeah.
I think I saw like something about like one of the clapboards. Either he had it or he was looking at somebody who had one in one of his videos. And it was, and it says directed by Frank Marshall. And I think somebody was like, it's fake. And it's like, no, it's second unit.
They never watch the freaking credits, bro. Like they just don't. Like
Sure.
I told my wife, I'm like, you know why I started watching the credits? Because when we would record on pay-per-view, my dad wanted the whole fucking film. He was like, I'm not stopping it when the movie's over. I paid $30 for this, which it was $30 in the 80s for one shot. So he would record all the way to the end. So I'd have to watch all of it to get to the next film. So.
I was watching Empire Strikes Back one day that we taped off of TV before you could really buy them like in a easy way. And I was looking at the remote in the end duel on Bespin. And it was this big red record button. And I was like, I really want to hit that button. And like the movie's on, I just really want to hit it. And then I hit it. No. It started recording. I hit stop really quickly. And then I hit play. I feel like nothing ever happened. Weeks go by. This family from Louisiana moves in on my street. And they wanted to borrow some videos. We were talking, and I guess somehow it came up. And I was like, I have Empire Strikes Back. And they wanted to watch it, so I said they could borrow it. And then the father, he's all brings it up. This asshole brings it up like it's 1 second. And I'm gonna borrow the whole movie, right? And then he's all like, so I'm like 8, and he's like, oh yeah, what happened with that, man? And I was just like, it was my mom. That's the only thing I could think of to do. I didn't want anybody else like it was my mom. And then he goes, I'm gonna have to have a talk with that mom. But he was just being funny, but I took him very literal, and I was like, "Oh fuck, oh great,"
Which is funny because those recordings were never perfect. Like we'd be watching it, and it would go right. It always had those like weird stutter effects and glitch effects, no matter
tracking issues and shit. Yeah, it was like all over the place. On that same tape, I also have that really super strange. I think it was a Henson production, maybe. I don't know if it was Henson, but it was like Mark Twain versus Satan. Remember that shit? It was like a California
claymation thing. So I used to rent that video. It was this animated film, and I rented it because it was claymation. And I remember going like, "This is so dark." Like when I was a kid, like I loved it, but my friend who was watching was just freaked out by the thing with the no face when he meets Lucifer, and it was so weird.
What was that? Was that a Henson thing?
It's a British. No,
it was a British thing. Okay,
yeah, it's a British. Just people who did the California Raisins and stuff like that.
Because I taped that around the same time that Henson had that other show on. It's like a variety show that was just like, You remember that? It was like a weekly. I think it was a
Storyteller.
It was like a few episodes of it, probably.
It wasn't Storyteller. It was something else, but
it was. It was. But hey Jesse. Hope the kid's okay today, man. And I think we're gonna briefly talk about the first episodes, or the prelude to War of the Bounty Hunters, just because honestly, there's not a lot to say about it, and I think we'll get it out of the way. That way, we can just get on to talking about the actual War of the Bounty Hunters instead of the prelude stuff. So, basically, like in one episode or one issue, like what is it, Dengar? He's just running around. And the only point of it is just to be like, oh, other bounty hunters are doing things. It doesn't really serve a very big purpose that was very notable to me.
This is the number 3, right?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, I thought that book was well drawn. It's not my cup of tea art wise, but it is good art. The coloring is really good. The illustration's good. It's dynamic. He's not doing a lot of trace overs from the films and stuff. But they just create a new character that has to interact with a bunch of characters we know. And those characters that we know are talking to one another as if they don't, I don't know. I always thought Zuckuss and Forlom and Dengar were like, not buddies, but like mutual, like, I don't know. It was fucking weird. And I do like that they're flying a UFO. Like, that's probably the best part, that Dengar and the guy who looks like a Terminator.
And I can't remember his name right now, but I am happy that he's in it, because as a kid, I loved the character. As a child, I had all the Marvel comics, and he had one of the best stories of the original Marvel comic line.
The Terminator looking dude.
Yeah, he's from the original run of the 77, 78 era comics.
All right. But it doesn't Here's a problem with it. I don't remember those issues. Wasn't a big fan of them when I was a kid. They don't explain who this guy is when you're reading this stuff. They don't do a good job of explaining where he comes from, his relationship. It's all like there's a thing between him and Han, and we kind of see something, but we don't know. And again, this goes to my problem. Like, because these issues aren't really coordinated with one another, they're all occurring in different comics, and then they're technically numerical issues. It just assumes you fucking know 1,000 years of fucking Star Wars lore to read it. Like, it's not a contained story. And this is something that mainstream American comics have been doing poorly. And I'm not even going to say the Secret Wars, because this is really something out of the 90s. Or even with DC, when you had like Nightfall and you had World Without Superman, and, you know, these sort of loosely connected stories that took over the whole comic book company for a few months. They weren't really connected in that you didn't know what the fuck is, like, if you know who Booster Gold was and Booster Gold dies fighting fucking Doomsday or gets seriously fucked up, unless you knew who Booster Gold was for 1,000 years, you wouldn't fucking know. Like, and so this is my thing. Like, you would think, hey, they would at least find a way to find a one page to kind of backstory him in like his expositional scenes or something. And they don't even bother. Like,
yeah, your like criticism is completely valid, but I will say we do live in the age of like Wikipedia. You can just like go on in 1 second if you're confused and solve anything that you
got. You got 24 pages, bro. And they didn't tell any. It's not like this story demanded that they didn't have room.
Well, and this is a crossover thing, but then then you get to the main War of the Bounty Hunters. And I think the main line of War of the Bounty Hunters, you can get the actual like gist of it all from there if you decide that you don't want all of that added stuff. But we are kind of in a weird way reading all of this interconnected stuff that, if you've been reading all of them, leads into this new main story. And so we are, and I do agree though, it would be nice to there are times throughout it where they do write little editor's notes. See Afra number 9, like later on.
You're in the prelude, but go see the prelude to the prelude. The prelude the whole point of a prelude.
It doesn't do it in the prelude. It never does it, as far as I can tell, in the prelude at all. So if you have no idea what's going on, you are just completely lost. But when you get later on into the main stuff, then it starts doing it. So I think to an extent they might agree with you. They might have been like, shit, people are getting lost here. But I don't know, though.
Man, their whole job, no offense, man, their whole fucking job is to tell stories, write comics and tell stories. One would think they'd know in 2021 how to do it. But like, this isn't, I'm not like old guy railing at comic book industry. Not that, when you read a manga, Alchemist, right? Written and drawn by one person. And you're like in volume 18, re-explain, I get it. They do a bunch of stuff and then go, oh, they're kind of in order to kind of get you to buy everything. At least when you ended, that's it.
I read it. Stage wasn't set them into a culmination. So this basically all
doing something else. It's separate moments. They're not both existing at the same. This is why they've ever tried to pretend these things are existing. My pain.
Post says Lord. Coming to the, assuming that we're still live on Facebook,
whatever.
Yeah. But I enjoyed that.
So it'd be one thing. This is right.
It felt like 2 pages.
Like constantly redraw. All this can't take it. You're stealing money.
That they think people in the fandom will see that because it's connected. He saw it with the Force.
You know, people. I love. Was it Jerry? He doesn't think they're necessary. And I'm like, no. It's cheap as open up a Star Wars comic.
Yeah,
you could put these over the art. What do you need to see all of? Did we really? You could put. Does it lead to power? Some kind of like reading book or something. People. So just tell a fun story.
Yeah,
you know, like see-ha, like
it's see-ha thing. The issue contributed when you get later on into the what is Skywalker is sort of a given, and that's my issue. This is, there's like nothing, and I was like, oh, there, yeah. And then when we get, it gets a lot better. They minimize the browser. It should be it should be in your wheelhouse. This should be your jam.
The Star Wars that Rinsler wrote,
that was fun.
But if
kind of like to an exposable quality to comics and Marvel comics, as when you got to like the later stuff, there's like a sea monster man, like a sea man, not a seaman, but like a fish boy, caring about the characters and what was going to happen that month. And Afra, Jew of Afra didn't.
But just imagine a G.I. Joe comic that Larry Hama wrote. If scenes from the cartoon.
Yeah.
How long do you any of that stuff?
No.
Like, that's my problem. Is like, I get Bill Watterson draws Calvin and Hobbes for 10 years. He's not original poses for Calvin at some point, right? Not tracing same thing over and over again. Get it. Right. But if he just was like that last, done, or if he had continued it on, you'd be like this, because like we're actually in a major paper shortage. I mean, this paper shortage right now, dude. 8 Spider-Man books and 15 Batman, where you got an R&D department of like that, and then you get to find out which ones work and then adapt them. But they're not doing any of that. It's to feed the Star Wars machine, and I don't think it helps. I think this is why Yoda, the Stormtrooper, the life-size stuff set up. He loves Star Wars. I told him I was doing the cast, and he was like, "What?" But I'm like, "Are you excited for any of this stuff?" And he was like, "No, just the." Because that's an actual like illustrator, throwing down on Star Wars. And I feel like these dudes, like, I get everyone's got to earn a living, but like this guy could be doing so much more with the ability to draw. I just feel like there's just nothing being said here. There's no narrative. It's just junk food.
They might have not given the artist any time, and the writer, they might have had to have like done this.
Or it's exactly what they wanted. And they got the guy to do it, but who cares? Like, this doesn't help. Look, we know they're going to keep making Star Wars comics because they own the license. Yeah. Right? Same company. Yeah. But should they? Should they? Like, what would be a better producer? It's like
I don't know. I don't know what their sales are like. I have no idea. So it's like, I guess if people are buying it, then people are enjoying it. And but my problem ties into what you said. Is like, I don't feel like there's anything there's no grand stories going on in these things that I see going on that are going to end up being a film in 20 years because it's such a classic and it's so good. You know what I mean? There's like none of that, and there's like for Star Wars Visions was really fun. And there should be graphic novels being made today. They should be doing stuff like that. You know what I mean? And like graphic novels, and that would be very interesting to me. And it might matter, and it might lead to something big down the road. But
a friend of mine complained about Star Wars Visions the other day, and he was like, "I don't like anthology series." And he's my age, right? And I go, "Okay, you do. You're just lying." And he's like, "What are you talking about? What do you mean I'm lying?" I'm like, "Your favorite show is the fucking Twilight Zone." Yeah. I don't know if you realize it. Many people would say greatest show of all time, right?
Up there.
It's an anthology show. The whole series is an anthology show. Yeah. And he's like, oh. Like, did you not realize that the Twilight Zone was an anthology series?
Please say he loves Clone Wars.
Yeah, he's a big.
Some characters return, but it's never the same returning characters all the time.
And he goes, "I don't like anime." I'm like, we both went and saw Ninja Scroll in the theaters. Well, it's not Ninja Scroll. I'm like, but the violence in the first episode's pretty up there. It's minus the nudity and maybe outright blood, but the violence in the first episode, and even in some of the Ninth Jedi stuff, and the last episode's pretty. I mean, it's up there with Star Wars violence. I mean, none of it hit the Obi-Wan cutting off a Trandoshan or with the dude's arm. Was it a Trandoshan movie?
The
Dr. Ebasan's arm. Right?
Walrus Man's arm.
Was it Walrus Man? Was it Ponda Boba?
Ponda Baba, yeah. Ponda, whatever. That fool. Yeah. I call him Pussy Face. You call him Ponda Baba. That's fair enough. Yeah. No, but I mean, at the same time, I mean, like, it doesn't work for him. It doesn't work for him. He probably just maybe doesn't understand why it doesn't work for him. And that was like the easiest place to take it.
But he went with anthology, which was funny.
Anthology, yeah.
I'm like, that's the reason why? Okay. So sure. But yeah, I don't know. So I wish they would do this to every comic so people would show. Like, anytime you get a new X-Men series, it's just stills from the movie redraw. They only draw over stills of Hugh Jackman as Wolverine.
Halle Berry is back, looking like she did in that one shot.
And I want to see them mix up references. So some scenes it's McAvoy as Professor X, and some scenes it's Patrick Stewart. Like they just don't even care.
In some of the Star Wars ones, it's Force Awakens Harrison Ford looking about 65, 70 years old. Then the next one, it's Empire Strikes Back.
My favorite is that one where he's like, he looks almost like bloated James Spader. That shot we were looking at, where he's like,
wait.
The Han Solo one.
Oh, the character. Yeah,
James Spader.
No, it's what's his name? Is it Gillian, the guy from SNL? Hold on,
I don't know.
I'm gonna look him up right now. Yeah, he's. I think he's in the. Did you ever see the Star Killer sketch?
Yeah,
he's in that. Okay. SNL. What's it? Is it Killian? God, what's his fucking name, dude? I could. Taron Killam.
It's like, bro, if you're a person who needs photo references,
it looks like
right,
Taron Killam.
A little bit. If you're a person who needs photo references, if you're that artist, fine. But there are other Harrison Ford films you can pull the fuck out of the expression from, right? Do you need the exact hair and the lighting? Can you not just? There's plenty of scenes in Indiana Jones where Harrison Ford's doing the whoo. You know, like there are plenty.
I mean, you could go. I mean, I don't know if there's like some like copyright thing that some lawyer told them they can't do, but you could go to like fucking that Jack Ryan movie he did. You could go to the there's a million Harrison Ford movies with Harrison Ford making faces that you could trace that aren't Star Wars to get those expressions, but. Yeah, I mean,
whatever, man.
Yeah, but once again, the issue, all it really did was it set the stage for what Darth Vader's doing, and I'm gonna throw it out there even further. And I know that's not a spoiler. We're spoiling the whole thing. We're talking about whatever the fuck we want, but Vader in the later issues of the comic, I like that he's there and I like what it's doing, but he seems like a real fucking idiot the whole time. Like as I'm reading it. I'm like, you just seem stupid, and there's like you know how like Darth Vader breaks his bargain with Lando, and that deal's getting worse all the time. Well, in that one, that's and breaks his deal for no reason at all, and it's just like, shut up, I do what I want, and it's just like this just makes you a dumb meathead, Darth Vader. And I guess you can read Darth Vader that way sometimes, but I also like to think that this guy's a Sith Lord. And that Maul was raised to become the orchestrator of the Clone Wars. He just got cut in half and fired, basically. But it really kind of sets up. And then you look at Count Dooku, who did execute the Clone Wars, and Grievous is a cartoon character, but you do get the vibe that he is a general and that he leads the whole army in all of those wars during the Clone Wars. Darth Vader just comes off in the comics like sort of good. I think it kind of it robs him of not only of character but of actual ability. If his whole thing is he could just run in and tear everything up, that's cool, but that's just there's not a lot to do with that.
What's really funny is when they go, and this is continuity, this is canon. I'm like, no, it ain't. It's not canon. I'm sorry. It's watch Rob go. It's not.
Yeah.
And watch no movie ever reference it or care. Watch the Obi-Wan series contradict half this shit. You'll see. Like it isn't. It's just a lie that they have to tell themselves because they have to tell the people to get them to buy it. You get people to buy it. You put a fucking amazing writer, even if they don't know who they are. You put an amazing writer and you put a fucking artist who creates images that catch your attention, and then people go, "Damn, I want to fucking read that." So that's how you do it.
Do you think they are going to do the old trick? Wow, it now says that we've been live for 16 minutes.
I have no clue.
So maybe it's Melon. Maybe it's Melon. What I was going to say about that was, do you think they're, how like comics will all of a sudden be like, oh, we're just starting the continuity over and we're like going to retell things that we've already done.
No, I'm saying
that's probably what they end up doing here with Marvel, where all of the stuff is canon until they do that, and then when they do that, they just start reconfiguring everything into the main canon again. Blame it on Marvel, not on the main Star Wars, not on Lucasfilm or any of that. They put it all on there, and then they're able to circumvent the fact that some of the stuff just is going to be in the way eventually. Like right now, if they want to do much with Luke and Leia between Empire and Jedi, or even A New Hope and Empire Strikes Back, in any way at all, it's pretty defined. I feel like at this point, there's so much timeline explored. Not a lot of mystery after the last 5 years for what's going on with them and their headspace. So if their headspace should change at all for a future project, I'm guessing that's going to be the way that they go about it. You know? Yep.
Yeah, I just don't.
I do though. I will say I don't. I think that the publishing of the novels, I do believe that will stay. I believe the Marvel thing could completely be rebooted at some point, but I do think no. Well, listen. I'm talking about what I'm saying is if dominoes are going to fall, I think that the novels will be the last ones, and I think that they've purposely moved a lot of those into original stories with characters that are beside the main heroes into such a degree. I think that's where we run into the problems that Marvel has over the other things. Is like when you do 50 issues of Darth Vader, now if something changes with Darth Vader, it's going to be wildly different, whereas the novels haven't had that issue. So
Sketchcraft once believed as you do, Jason Wards.
Oh, I never see. I was the exact opposite. I never believed. I didn't read the Dark Horse stuff other than when it looked fun and I felt like reading a comic book, or the old novels, because I knew that none of that shit mattered. When George Lucas was doing stuff, I had completely understood that George Lucas was not going to care what you scribbled on a page when he went to sit down and do it. He was just going to do what he wanted to do. And that was
Disney won't care either. Disney won't care either. I mean, if Feige came in and had a story for Han, Luke, and Leia, right? Mm-hmm. And they were like, cool, we're going with it. All that contradicts every fucking thing they've ever done in a comic. Which one do you think they're going to go with?
Oh yeah, no, I am with you. I also think that if there's only a few people, I should say, whenever they have a power player like J.J. Abrams aboard, whose name is maybe not as big as the IP itself, but is as big as you could possibly Abrams and Feige are two of the ones who I would put where if they want to erase issue or whatever of something, it's gone. You know what I mean?
The only thing they're not going to reboot is the movies.
Yeah,
like they won't reboot the movies because they built, and I'm telling you, the only reason why I think they won't is because they built the fucking theme park. You know, they built 2 theme parks that look exactly like a bunch of films they made, and to redo all that is a giant nightmare. So they are just gonna be like, those movies are what they are, and we're moving forward.
I mean, if we even just entertain the possibility for a very brief second, look at how people, you know, some of those expanded universe books were selling abysmally at the end. By the way, I mean abysmal. We're talking very low numbers. I've heard the numbers before, and it was bad. It was definitely dead and dying.
Okay,
and,
well, hold on.
And
so but I was there. Yeah. I was there, right, doing licensing. I was offered to draw the Clone Wars comic, all right, at one point by some Dark Horse editors. But I refused to draw it exactly in the Tartakovsky style, whatever, the Gendy style, right? Yeah. I was like, close, but I don't really want to. They were like, got to draw just like it. I'm like, maybe that's what's holding the book back. You know, like you can draw in an animated style, but it doesn't have to fucking just fit the style guide 100% because after a while, this gets boring. You know, people feel like they've seen it. And I feel like Dark Horse toward the end has run into the same problem that Marvel's already at, where they stop putting illustrators who have a unique voice and a unique take on something, and we're cranking out the licensed stuff. I mean, Star Wars is in a problem where they're Luke Skywalker, they're Darth Vader's, right? They're Captain America, they're Batman. Only have so many stories they can tell because they exist in an actual timeline, as opposed to, you know, pulp superheroes that can just endlessly exist forever and they don't have to have any kind of continuity. Like there is a limit because the movies are sort of sanctimonious, right? They're concrete pillars.
Yeah.
That you can, or you just ignore it and say, yeah, they had a million adventures that kind of don't count. Here's what would have happened if Luke Skywalker went on an adventure like this. Just deal with it. Like, but they pretend that this.
My point was when you have these books that are selling issues in the thousands, low thousands are being sold. These books, and people are that up in arms over their erasure. Well, what do you think?
Dark Horse wasn't paying for talent.
No. But let me say the point I've been trying to say is that when they put out a movie where millions of people have seen it, and you erase that, if you thought the EU shit was a shitstorm,
all right,
that would be a fucking never-ending actual franchise hurter.
The only reason,
for lack of a better word, hurter.
I got so tired of Spider-Man reboots that by the time the Tom Holland movie came out, I didn't go see it in the theaters. I was like, I'll wait, you know? And then when I did see it, I was like, damn, this is actually really good. Probably should have seen it in the theaters. But I myself, you know, but they suffered that same fate that you've already rebooted twice in 10 years. In 10 years.
Yeah, I don't need it. I like Spider-Man. I don't love Spider-Man. I don't buy Spider-Man stuff. I'll go to the movies and see a fun movie. Like, that's where he falls for me. And so, just don't really like, I don't personally don't need that much of one thing. I also don't need 18 Batman issues. I would also be fine with there just being like 1 or 2 Star Wars comics going on at one time. That would be fine for me too. In fact, it would make more money for me if there was like one main Star Wars line,
a Star Wars comic, and then like they could set a comic called The Phantom Menace, but it's just set
or something like that,
or something like that.
Yeah, like one thing for each era. I would be okay with that at a time. But it just becomes, and I don't know. I mean, I hope I'm looking at this wrong. That there's like, you know, like 16-year-old kids out there that are buying every issue, and it's a vibrant live thing for them. I mean, maybe it's not. I'm hoping
they're buying the Fortnite skins at best.
Yeah, that's what I figure. But Thrawn says franchise genocide, and that's what exactly that would be if they were to do that for sure. And I don't know. It's like if somebody's having fun with it, I'm like, I don't want to. I don't like when, you know, like if somebody likes some like really shitty indie band, I let them have it. You know what I mean? I'm like, oh, you like that? You think that's good, huh? All right. And I let them go live their best life, so to speak. But when it comes to this stuff, it feels like such a missed opportunity a lot of the time that I'm like, yeah. And I just think at the end of the day, the prelude to War of the Bounty Hunters didn't need to exist. That's just where it falls. Is I spent money on these issues that did not need to exist, and that kind of
prelude to Mortal Kombat. Oh, yeah, great. That'll be wonderful. Like,
they got
to see them all line up. Like,
they got my $36 or whatever. I don't remember what I spent on it now, but it really. Hold on.
I would love to see Prelude to Spinal Tap, just for the record.
Yeah, I want any Spinal Tap. Any Spinal Tap is good. The older I get, the less invested I get in things I don't like, and I just look forward to whatever's coming next. Yeah, that's usually the healthy.
So you got to review it for a podcast, my friend. Like I never would have read any of this. Look, I'm of you. I don't spend my time reading things and complaining. I just ignore it.
Yeah, same.
But in this case, I'm like, look, it's part of the deal. I get it. Look, there could be a series that comes out that I can't stand. Like, I'm not the biggest fan of The Bad Batch. You know, I don't think it's this, but I do think, given how much story they told in the What If series compared to what story gets told in Bad Batch, I'm like, guys, like, you got to really rethink your storytelling mechanisms for these series. You know, 16 episodes and like 4 of them count has to stop.
Yeah.
Or when I'm watching when I'm watching Temple of Doom, and I'm like, would have been great to see a well-structured, executed minecart sequence in the Bad Batch. How fun would that have been? With like Dianogas popping out or whatever the fuck they wanted to do, like just some crazy stuff. Because I mean, I do find that some of the visual effect shots in the minecart sequence are funny when you can tell they're curly dolls sitting in the back of them. Like I do. I like that. That's fun. It's hilarious.
I was just gonna say, if I did a Spinal Tap comic book, it would start on issue 11. That's what that would be issue 1. It would be issue 11.
That is genius. Yeah,
that's what I do.
I would want a strong cartoonist. It would be the worst if they trace photos from the movie to Star Wars or Indiana Jones territory. One, David LaFuente, not Derek Laufman. Derek Laufman's a cool cartoonist, but no, David LaFuente, who's a Spanish artist. He's brilliant. Jorge Corona, I think I'm getting right. Yeah, he's really good. Kind of a Bruce Timmey artist, but like on a really illustrated version of that, right? Okay. Not super stylized, but super dynamic and more teenage, like a cross between Bruce Timm and like McFarlane. That's not a good example, but I'm just trying to paint a picture. And then Mirka, and she does like she does these hot paprika comics. She's an Italian, kind of Disney-ish. There's a lot of like sexual-y kind of comics, but these are different styles of art that then if the books takes off, their art works great on a t-shirt. Like, could you imagine taking these drawn over images and putting them on a shirt? It would be ridiculous. You wouldn't want a poster of it. You'd want the artist style. It goes back to cartoons in the 90s. Remember how like cartoons in the 90s kind of all had their own unique style? Like Bobby's World had a look, and Beavis and Butthead had a look, and The Tick had its own look. It wasn't just doing whatever look was production friendly. They developed a look that benefited the style of the show. And I really feel like that's where comics moved away from around the time of the Ultimates. They kind of moved into like everything kind of has like a realistic kind of look for whatever reason. At the time I was told because the market's aging and these artists are, the people buying them are 40. Now they said this 20 years ago. I guarantee you the 60-year-olds aren't, like, it still seems to be an older person's demographic that's primarily buying these books. So, like, that isn't it. I believe that the mentality behind the people cutting the checks has never changed.
Sure.
That is a systemic, it's a systemic ingrained philosophy of we're serious. We want to be taken serious, so it's going to look realistic, you know? Yeah. And yet, who thinks Mononoke is not a serious story?
Right. So yeah, it has nothing to do with it in reality. And I think you make a really good point though about the art. I mean, as funny as it is, I guess it kind of gets that retro vibe, and I don't know but I don't think this art will ever have a retro value to it. You know what I mean? Like the Marvel comic stuff, you'll see that stuff show up on t-shirts sometimes, and it's pretty cool looking. But it was always kind of cool looking. And I would honestly be happy, and this will never happen, but if they just to some extent just kind of went back to that old style and said, let's develop a Star Wars style of art for comics, and let's actually do that, you know?
IDW does a little bit of it with their Transformers books. There's a guy, Josh Burcham, who's really good. He was a colorist on a lot of these comics where they would do new stories of Transformers, but they would colorize them in a way that's similar to the old 80s comics in a way, right? And at the time I was working on some IDW stuff, and color, that's a more efficient doing it for these covers. This is not, and I was trying to, right? And I got kickback for pushbacks from who were like more detailed. And I'm like, I'm thinking that just needs to be like iconic, but like the over rendering and let's make every panel benefit a story as a whole. In this case, they aren't over panel, but they are, over on previous to like, this takes place in that movie, so we should just use panels from the movie. That's why, Rob, you know?
Yeah.
Like, did you ever see the old man Jack Burton comic?
No.
Corona. So they did a sequel back John Carpenter and a bunch of people, Jack Burton story.
That like in that kind of way, characters. Kind of style right here, that it feels sort of milled out because of the work that they have to do and the amount of time that they have, but it has commitment to capturing the cinematic qualities of Star Wars, but to such an extent that I feel like it should stop trying because the stories aren't engaging at all.
It drove me out of comics, man, and I need to deal with this. Why fight the system? Is that point? Like, you have a diminishing level of like pretty spry in the Married with Children. This 7, I'm fighting the family.
Mike Johnson is tired of your make the case.
It's totally bullshit. Do a Rick.
But yeah. Well, yeah. Well, we'll
do
talk
one
about
impersonation.
It does get better. I don't know that stuff. I don't think that continues, and it does get better. When we get to Kira later on in it, just tracing this, just brace yourself. But yeah, at that point, I'm in it for funny as I'm in it for the art in a big way,
for the story. But if the art is the art, like this script is saying, use these. It's just a cycle. Like I blame everyone. Like if I look, I've gotten shit for my art, so when I get shit art, so it's whatever.
Yeah.
But imagine if when I did a Rick and Morty impersonation, I was just reading quotes from Rick and Morty. Like I wasn't actually like riffing with you on the fly, And by the way, I use that impersonation basically to make fun of every person in Star Wars who I think I sound like I'm literally doing it, so I sound like it.
you know what? What's actually really funny is my son was watching a streamer. He likes to watch streamers play video games instead of playing them. It's just so weird.
I don't blame him. You can get more work done.
He's not. He's just staring at it, which is what makes me mad. And I'm like, come on, me and his sister are playing Fortnite. I'm like, play Fortnite with us. And he's like sitting here watching somebody play Fortnite. I'm like, but the streamer keeps trying to do the Rick and Morty impression, and after hearing yours like so much, I'm like, what is this amateur fucking doing right now? Like it annoys me because it sounds so bad.
I got real lucky that I never lost the crack in my voice.
Mm-hmm.
Like that maturity thing never quite hit. And I used to, here's how I started doing it in the 80s when we'd go on Big Thunder Mountain. And you get on Big Thunder Mountain and there's this voice that hits in the ride where it goes, this here's the wildest ride in the wilderness. I got like that shit. And then I started going, this here's the wildest ride in the wilderness, right? Like that, the character from like the Robin Hood films, there's a Disney voice that does that.
You're forever our Bobby Brady. Bobby Brady, and the Brady Bunch. His voice changes in the episode, and he sounds like a frog. He's like,
when he's singing.
Yeah, it was like his voice is breaking and everything. Yeah. Marsha.
I do love the Brady Bunch movie, the first one.
Yeah,
with all my heart.
Time. Yeah, it was a good time.
I just love that they live on the set, and then when they walk out their door, it's filthy, grimy LA.
Yeah, that and
so good.
I mean, yeah, that in a weird way, I feel like that aspect of it has aged better than anything from the movie. As that idea, it was vastly underappreciated at the time, and when you look at the Addams Family movies, it's like not even necessarily unlike what they were doing there, but they just took it so much further. And the Coneheads movie also did it too. But Brady Bunch does it the best.
Yeah.
Of the films, the TV films of the time.
Addams Family is more like in line with Beetlejuice.
Yeah.
Like if Tim Burton had kept making Beetlejuice in that Tim Burton style, like I felt like that's where it would have gone, right?
Right.
I love those two movies, but the Brady Bunch, the sequel, I like the story, but they should have let Betty Thomas come back after she finished Private Parts. It was
let me ask you this, because you tend to know weird shit about movies. Any idea why the Addams Family movie is like never anywhere, but Addams Family Values is always everywhere?
Oh, the first one?
Yeah, like I wanted to show the first one to my kids. It was like a while ago, but it was like nowhere. But Addams Family Values was everywhere.
If I had to place a bet, I would find out who was the distribution on that. Like there's a producer or a distribution change. I'm certain if you look at the credits, there will, and I will. I'll go back and because I got them on DVD. I'll go back and look, and I'm certain there was a production change, and someone they don't want to pay somebody. It's not the director.
It's not MC Hammer, because MC Hammer does the song for part 2, right?
No, that's the first movie. Maybe it is Adam.
Maybe it's Hammer. Maybe Hammer wants his Hammer.
They do what they want to do, say what they want to say, live how they want to live. I know now we get DMCA.
Yeah, right?
And now you get DMCA.
Hey, I'm just gonna pray not to make it today that we don't get DMCA.
I do like we got to pray just a bit. It's probably the closest to religion I'll ever get.
I remember there being a fucking Taco Bell commercial with Hammer, and he's like getting like what are those like churro things? sticks.
Yeah, the cinnamon sticks.
The cinnamon. Yeah, what are they called though?
Cinnasticks or whatever they're called.
No, they have a different name. Fuck, I should know this too, but when I go on the show, I lose all recall. But I used to have the Batman. I saved the Batman ones for the cinnamon things. They made like a Batman special thing for it as a kid.
Well,
like,
the Batman amazing. One was the first movie. The first movie was Taco Bell, and then the 97 film was Taco Bell. In between that, it was McDonald's.
Yeah, the only one that was cool.
I know. Why do I know that? Like, I don't know.
No, it was a big deal. I was like, I wanted all of the I remember getting I had all the Taco Bell cups. I drank out of those for probably like 5 years, probably.
But that, I really believe we all shit on, McDonald's and Taco Bell having an influence over these films at the time, right? Notoriously for Batman Returns and Batman Forever,
right?
But I've said before, I miss that cheesy kind of branding, like if I went to, if they said Chipotle's got the Mando, this is the way, or have it, was it Burger King, have it your way, this is the way, right? You could always see some schlocky cup, like the Burger King Club was the Mando, the Grogu meal with like the different little zip toys.
Give me a green fucking Whopper. Call it the Grogu burger. I'll eat that shit. Right now, when you go there, there's like these people who I don't know who they are, but it'll be like the Tom Holland Jr. Meal, and it'll be like a giant fucking box with just like a hamburger or fry and like a small drink. And I'm like, why are you guys making Happy Meals for adults? It's weird.
When No Way Home came out, I went to the theater the day it came out that Thursday, right? IMAX 3D. And they have like a commemorative cup you could get at the theater for like $20. And I got it. And it's this black cup with like travel stamps over the cup. I'm like, what a fucking waste. I want like a Mysterio cup where the top is the bubble head and it's got the armor, even if it's just painted on the side, and it's got a green, and it comes with like maybe a special green Mysterio drink, right? And so for the podcast that day, I went and drew that cup on my thumbnail, like what I wanted that to be. And then I complained for 2 hours about this lack of creative marketing. And people who saw the thumbnail was like, is that fucking real? Where can I get that cup? I'm like, I know, right? Nowhere. Like this is the kind of marketing when you get a $20 cup that you should have. Like it should be a little Mando cup head that sits on, or a Grogu head, or fucking a Sith Witch head, whatever the hell you want to do. The Sith Witch should be a Chip Witch time. It's a Sith Witch. Feel the dark side, and it's got like dark chocolate or some shit in there.
The problem is always in the quantity in which it happens. Like when The Force Awakens was coming out, and there would be like, popcorn bucket toppers of First Order Stormtroopers shit. Like I was all about it. I was like, this is fun. Let's like do it. But by the time you get to the 9th film, and there's been 5 movies, and they do the same rollout with the same intensity, if not more, as it continues, then it gets annoying, because then it's like, leave me alone. I just want fucking popcorn to watch my Star Wars. If you went
to the theater and could get one cup, and it was the villain cup or the hero cup, you'd buy each movie. Because you'd be able to put them on your shelf and have, here's Spider-Man in this outfit, here's a Mysterio cup, here's this villain, here's this one. Not too many, 6 or 7 of them. I get it. But if it's just one cup anyway, may as well be. That's why I told you, I thought about that costs money and it'd be annoying. That's why I still think the biggest missed opportunity for a movie tie-in product is the Suicide Squad drink. Where they just take a bit of every Coca-Cola product and shove it into one can and just say, this is the Suicide Squad. And you just, it's horrible. Like, But they'd have to tie it into like win the Batmobile prize or some shit like that. Win the gun, like from, win a Starro or something in the can.
One of the fan managers accept or pay attention to is current film and all that kind of stuff. Black BB-8, the evil BB-8 like cup topper.
BB-8?
Yeah, BB. I see reaction to it that makes me go groaning, disgust. I just see you ever again. And it's not the character or the designs and all of it, not something I really asked for or needed or necessarily even wanted in my life. And but it started taking up space in my home where I was no affinity for it because the film did not earn the affinity for it in my heart. I lovingly threw away after a short time, and that happened several. And so it's like, if I see the same thing I'm like, Thai films, they really need to be more careful, I think, with how they with That's just
me.
I
think that they should have just like that's again, they have the variety for action figures or Fortnite skins, a product tie-in that you're gonna sell at the movie theater at a restaurant, like Denny's gets the fuck right, and maybe if you go to fucking Rallies or I don't know, I don't eat a fast food anymore, but we go to Wendy's or you go, you get Chewbacca or something. Tough, dude, because I'm in a weird position where like Rogue One has no real merch, just a bunch of weird designy T-shirts released at Target or was.
Yeah.
Marketing campaign at Denny. I don't know. Figure this out.
If something ties into the heart of the story, and like to a slightest extent, like I get like the Praetorian Guard, but at the same time, and the Stormtrooper with that's like half.
Everything in those films was.
But
Luke in the fuck.
That's what they should have done, and those promotions.
Race 6 cups and here's the game you play and you're like, I could build in like
there's